Welcome to Mad Money. Welcome to Cramerica. My friends, I'm just trying to make you a little bit of money here. My job is not just to entertain, but to educate. So call me at 1-800-743-CNBC or tweet me at Jim Cramer. On a day where the Dow dipped 179 points, S&P declined 0.09%, NASDAQ actually inched up 0.13%, I want to talk to you about how the stock business works against you. Well, I am now on my incessant book tour to sell how to make money in any market. I've gotten intense pushback from many who are in this racket, including those who don't even know it is a racket. The whole point of my book is that it's possible for you to make big money by picking individual stocks, as long as you do it right. But there's a whole cottage industry of people who constantly argue that stock picking is a mug's game, and you're better off parking your money in index funds that simply mirror the market. At the same time, the media loves to scare you away from great companies that produce terrific long-term returns. Because negativity, what's it do? It attracts eyeballs. Sometimes the company's credible, you just can't take the press too seriously. So here's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to walk you through 3 different incidents where I've seen the company tell you one thing while the street or the media said the opposite, so you know what's really going on. And we're going to start with Nvidia. For months, Nvidia has been looking to sell its best chips into China. Why? China's a $50 billion market. But our government and the Chinese government both said no. Us because of national security, and the Chinese because they want to develop their own industry and not rely on Nvidia. And that's why Jensen Huang, the CEO, always describes China as a bonus opportunity for the company. Listen to this.
I would like everybody to just assume that China is a bonus opportunity in the future. At the moment, we got plenty of, our demand is really strong, as you know. Demand is really skyrocketing, and over the next couple of years, we've got a lot of demand we have to go serve. And if China comes along, which I believe is going to be in the best interest of the United States as well as China and the rest of the world, that's going to be a huge bonus opportunity for us.
Now, our government just agreed with Jensen and is allowing Nvidia to sell the Chinese a very high-powered chip, the H200, only one generation behind the current Blackwell line of chips, and worth a great deal in the market. Nobody cares. In a novel approach, the federal government's putting a 25% surcharge on the product, but I don't think that's going to deter any sales. And what happens? Wall Street shrugs. The media is almost universally filled with doubts about China even wanting these chips, which is totally untrue. They seem to think this move is worth nothing to Nvidia because the Chinese aren't interested. That's totally untrue. That's why the stock's doing nothing. It fell 58 cents today to close at $184.97 because of these untruths. Now, here's what I know. The Chinese want these H200 chips badly. Their government won't crow about it because they've got this domestic, they have domestic competitors that they've been funding. They're trying to play catch up with Nvidia. That the government is favoring the domestic competitors is pretty obvious. But we know still the government wants our products. I even think the president's going to push for Nvidia sales, and the Chinese will ultimately be big buyers. But nobody cares. Keep in mind, just a few months ago, the media was acting like the Chinese shutout was the seminal issue facing Nvidia, an existential threat because it wouldn't be able to sell in perhaps the best market in the world. When the China story was going against them, it was all important. Now that they've got a big win, it doesn't matter. Why? Because Nvidia is what's known as a retail stock owned heavily by individuals who are easily scared and small institutions take their cue from Wall Street, which was lukewarm on the deal. Do you know why I say own Nvidia, don't trade it? Because this kind of thing has driven regular individual investors, including perhaps you, out of the stock since it was trading at $2 when I recommended it. And that was a few years ago. I view it as my job to stop the trading madness that grips so many people, to dispel the needless fear, to quell the rebellion against simply owning a stock. Should you stop believing the critics? The history of Nvidia says you should. I'm going with history. History's a strong ally. Second story, equally well chronicled in how to make money in any market, is Apple. It's about Apple and how some people seem dedicated to scaring you out of liking Apple. It's like they're on a mission from God to help you. They think they're the Blues Brothers. Questioning Apple is one of the most time-honored pastimes on Wall Street, and it's been very effective at causing shareholders to panic and sell one of the greatest long-term winners I've ever seen. In September of this year, with the iPhone 17 was coming out, we were with Apple CEO Tim Cook in Harrisburg, Kentucky, where the Corning makes the glass for phones. At the time, I was blown away by the new models. I questioned all those who told us these phones weren't any good or were merely incremental or meaningless for an already flagging bottom line. These same critics were quick to point out that many good people were leaving Apple, so how could it be safe to own the stock? Bulls like me were considered dreamers or even heretics because the very idea of owning this one seemed so irresponsible. I don't get this attitude. I didn't need to be effusive. I could have been cold and circumspect. I chose not to be because I'm a student of Apple, its phones, and its CEO. Who are these other people? What are the detractors? What do they know? How about nothing? The stock's been on a huge winning streak since September, almost straight up since we went to that factory. And the media that embrace these negative stories, they just want to pump out negativity to please their editors. We get one more price target bump just today. As club members know, I say own it, don't trade it. Third, let's talk Warner Brothers Discovery. I've always been a believer in CEO David Zaslav. I worked with him at CNBC more than 25 years ago, where he was an executive for a long time. When he got handed the Warner Brothers portfolio from AT&T loaded with debt, he did his best to get that pile of debt down while cutting costs, creating some very good lasting properties. He turned it into the #1 studio for television and movies while refining HBO into a very important streaming product, maybe second only to Netflix itself. He knew Warner Brothers Discovery couldn't rally with all that debt, but he also knew that if he could solve the cash flow matches, which he very quickly did, then a stock that was trading at 10, then 9, then 8, would be a triple once the market came to its senses and the acquirers came calling. Well, now the acquirers are here, and it looks like what the media originally called a preposterous price was too low. I have no idea how this bidding war between Paramount and Netflix will take shape. By the way, I have no idea whether there's not another one bidder lurking. These kinds of properties don't come up for sale very often. Here's what I do know. Zaslav told anyone who listened that this could happen, that this would happen, that this was something preordained and definitive. I was ridiculed, of course, for believing Warner Brothers could get such a high price tag, but I believed in this man the way I believe in Tim Cook and Jensen Huang. Oh, and if you stick with us, by the way, you're going to hear another company rocked and wronged by the complex I described just now, Marvell Tech. Let's see what they have to say about some stories that I think seem almost planted to drive the stock down. And those stories have been successful. Here's the bottom line. If you want to make big money in individual stocks, you need to be a believer. Sometimes it doesn't pay off. Everybody makes mistakes. But if you don't believe in your stocks, then you'll never be able to stick with them through thick and thin. Any stock that's a winner inevitably attracts endless negative attention from the press, because that's how you sell papers. And belief is the only thing that will prevent you from getting scared out of your best holdings instead of staying long and profiting from the big moves that could be ahead. Kathy in California. Kathy.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
I am good, Kathy. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you. Wanted to thank you for all your help with the investment club. I really love being a member.
Thank you. Friday meeting. Go ahead.
Yes, I'll be there. Wondering about a stock called Veeva Systems. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, it's very controversial because what's happened is that it was knocked several times in the Salesforce call. Salesforce was very successful. It makes me feel like, wait a second, I don't want to be in Veeva right now, not with the way that Salesforce took them on and talking about winning some huge clients from Veeva. Let's stay away. All right, you need to believe if you want to make big money, and I showed you what was really going on behind the scenes, which you didn't know about. Bad Money Tonight. The CBS turnaround seems to be working, the stock being the best performer in healthcare sector so far this year. I'm hearing what lies ahead, so you don't want to miss my exclusive with the CEO. Then Marvell Tech, just mentioned short a week ago on earnings, but this has spent a little time here in the doghouse as investors try and sort out if Amazon's new chips could be more of a bust than a boom to the company's business. Going straight to the CEO. Plus, I'm sitting down with the heads of KeyCorp and AV. A big show. Stay with Cramer.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on X. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadMentions. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.